Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a Leather Element, drop it in the comment box below. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So how about a shop tricks? I'm hoping there's something in here that's going to help us out in our shop. One of the only difficult things about chiseling is going through multiple pieces of leather, particularly something like 2 8-9s back to back, or even 3 8-9s back to back. A 6-tine, same with the diamonds. It's going to go through. It's going to take a little bit to get through the leather. But the bigger problem, trying to get this back out. It's almost impossible. So how about we back off a couple of tines? So right here, what I can do is I'm going to take my 2-tine, I'm going to mark for my last hole. Then let's jump over to our single tine, and that goes right through, and it's easy back out. So we're not tearing up our hands, our tools, and particularly our leather. We just back off on a few tines. It's going to take longer, but it's going to look better and be much easier. When we're edging our leather, it can be extremely tough to start right on the end. Typically what happens with me is I'm going to press in, but then I'm going to jump off, and because my pressure is in this direction, I'm going to come right back in and gouge or nick that strap. It's going to look really rough. So if we start maybe 1/4 of an inch in, 1/8 of an inch, then we get a very clean edge. But also, we can flip this around and we can actually clip that off. In fact, we're going to talk about this in just a second. But all told, if I'm starting inside, usually I'm going to use an English point or a round end or round corners, some kind of a punch on that end. So it's typically not an issue. But here's what I was talking about. Sometimes we're going to run into a very soft piece of leather. Let's try this. Well, it's Weaver leather. It's not going to work for me. But the point is, now and then, if this is very soft, it's going to ripple. What we can do is we can flip our edger around, actually hold it in our hand. Very comfortable to do it that way. Now we can come back across that edge, and 9 out of 10 times, that's going to straighten out that ripple. Quite often we have projects in our shop that have multiple plies of thicker leather. This is 3 8-9. I've got a welt in there. Well, that makes that a little bit tough to burnish. We've got 2 beautiful burnishers, and I love these, use them all the time, but I don't have a slot thick enough for that thickness. Now we could use the shank or the toe. Actually, that's what those are made for. But how about we try this? Canvas actually makes a great burnisher. So what we're going to do, let's add water to one side of our strap, then we'll do leather balm on the other. Let's just see what happens. I think we've got a good water content there. So let's take our canvas and let's just slick this. And I'm going to press down a little bit on either side so we round this as well. And that's 5 passes up and back. That actually feels good. I don't yet have a good slick on that. So let's add a few more. But one good point when we're burnishing, pressure, not the point. I don't want to push down so hard that I actually create a lip across here. And there is 7 passes back and forth. Well, it's not terribly fast, but again, to get into areas that are hard to reach with our burnisher, it's a great point. Now, I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but we've got a good gloss on that. Boy, that feels good. Okay, let's do the same thing to the other side with our leather balm. And it feels like we've got a good leather balm content there. Now, the great thing about this, I'm typically using this as my top coat already. So let's slick this. And there's 5 passes, feeling pretty good. But again, let's go 2 more. There we are, and there's our gloss. That starts to appear about our 5th pass. But all told, that strap feels good. I like the look of the leather balm, but either way, we are good. That's a nice slick. And our throwback tip, let's tie a simple leather knot. We're going this way because I run into a lot of folks that have never seen this, but it's super easy to do. I like to keep my veg tan rolled on my shelf. Keeps it organized. But without some way to tie that off, my shelf is a mess. Now we can use a piece of string and we can tie a knot. Well, two problems there. First off, it's hard to get that knot tight on our leather. But secondly, I don't want to have to try to get that knot out. But I also don't want to have to keep cutting my twine. That's just wasting money. So let's just do a simple slip knot. We pop it, we unroll our leather, we tie it again, and our leather's tight. So let's look at how this is done. We're just using plumb line, and we can find this at just about any hardware store, but in all honesty, most any twine is going to work. So for a larger roll of veg tan, I'm going to go with a piece about 3, maybe 3.5 feet long. On one end, let's bend this back. I'm going to grab this in. Now, if I twist that, notice it already makes a loop. So let's bring that around, through, and there we go. We've got a knot on one end. On our leather, with our leather, I'm going to roll this to where it's a little tighter than I typically like it. Let's take our plumb line or our twine. I'm going to run that under my leather. Let's take this loop. Now on this piece, I'm going to pull that through the loop. Good. And again, we don't really have to tighten this right here. We can leave this a little bit loose. So let's take this in, go under that line, and then we're going to go through the loop that creates. Basically just a slip knot. Now let's shake our leather. That is good and tight. That's not going to unroll. And again, all I have to do when I'm ready to use this leather, let's pop that knot, unroll it, and we're not wasting material, time, or money. Like I said, I hope there's something in here that's going to help us out in our shop. Because the biggest point, let's have a good time in our shop. And if we do, our projects, well, they're going to reflect that. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.